silent mode to avoid any interruptions during the conference. We recommend to maintain proper posture and position yourself adequately in your computer. Simultaneous interpretation will be provided for this meeting via the Zoom platform. At the bottom of the Zoom screen, you will see a globe icon that says interpretation. Click the icon and select the language you wish to listen to. It's very important that you select one of the options when you want to speak and to allow your interpretation. At the end of the video, please remain silent for 30 seconds. Afterwards, the moderator will begin the meeting. Thank you very much for your attention.
Bem-vindos a todas e todos no primeiro
Welcome you all for the first forum for youth rural groups. For us, a big satisfaction for participating in an event which is made by youth and for the youth. Today we have a schedule based on dialogue, and without further talk, I'd like to give you the introduction words for our technical cooperation director, Villarreal, who is representing Mr. Ortega. Federico, welcome, and please, you have 5 minutes to have your introductions. As we are focusing on youth, we are going to go straight to the debate to provide interaction between the participants. But first of all, Federico, please, is with you.
Thank you very much, Rodolfo. Well, it's important to know that the general director wasn't able to participate because of some scheduling issues, but he would like to greet you all. And well, I would like to start by thanking for your participation in an event that's so important, which is this international forum that's happening. Well, we have this commitment from IICA to start this discussion. And in this milestone, in our first plan, is basically and fundamentally to discuss about the questions of gender and youth. So to reflect everything that we do, we always think about the youth, because the youth is very important for both IICA and all the countries, and for the culture, and for livelihood. And that is why, for a while now, I would say 4 years ago, we started working head-on in politics and because young people are not only the future, are factors for building this culture and this reality that we want to promote. So without those spaces to promote interchange and work in the entire globe, and without this association with the young people in all the world, especially in Africa, they are definitely key factors for the development future. And of course, we also have the opportunity to work and associate with partners in Africa. And they have been developing a very unique work in the development of the youth there. There is a continent of young people and with a lot of potential and a lot of experience. In the African continent, there are a lot of common questions. They are going to allow us to enrich and also to promote the development of the culture and this reality in youth. For example, last year, we have launched the challenge for the youth. The idea was to create a disruptive environment to address all the interests of
las Américas, una experiencia muy
exitosa developed with the community of the youth from Americas. In the same way, we have already promoted, and of course, I'm just going to give you a few examples, but the exchange of different of young people from different countries, the entire American continent, this hemisphere of Latin America, Caribbean, and North America, and to promote the dialogue of contemporary issues, including putting the young people into contact with leaders responsible for the formulation of public policies, not only to make them be incorporated, but to make them being taken into account as the voices, as the representatives of the youth. And as I said before, we are very interested in the youth. We are interested in give them spaces, safe spaces that allow them to promote the development of.
Excelentes palavras, realmente
Thank you very much, Federico. Great words. This is the differential of today's event, that we may connect two continents, which have very valuable experience and very rich, and that we can build this bridge in order to provide the rural development for these two continents, interchanging good practices, innovative solutions, and hearing the new voices from the rural areas, the new voices from the agriculture, which are inserted in this context. In this sense, I would like to invite now the directive manager from the GCSAYN, Divino Genchocan, in order to give his introduction word. Divino, please, you have 5 minutes. Start. Please, Divino, welcome.
Buenos dias. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Yeah, thank you very much. Greeting from Cameroon. I'm so happy to be part of you. And this is actually historic because, as we all know, IICA works in the Latin America and the Caribbean, and we have decided to bring IICA to Africa this time around. And I think this meeting is very, very, timely because we are closing the end of the year, a very huge year with a lot of challenges, but again, with a lot of opportunities, because with IICA, we've been able to sign a lot of partnerships so far, even at the level of African continent. So I think looking at the rural youths, being at the center of this agenda is key, because we are moving within the context whereby COVID, climate, and of course, cooperation. I'm repeating what Beverly said many months ago when we were signing our MOU. She mentioned about the 3 Cs. So I think we actually took that into consideration, and we've been able to leverage on that. Climate Smart Agriculture Union, actually, we are in 124 countries worldwide, and IICA being one of our hosts around the Latin America and the Caribbean, the Pacific, we really feel that it's an opportunity for us to actually share the African context and ideas on how young people are actually looking at agriculture. So with some of the past activities that we've been able to organize, from the UN Food System Summit, right up to the summit process, young people, education of youth, and rural youth has actually been at the center. And it's in this dynamics that we're able to come up with 2 flagship programs, the Children and Youth in Agriculture, whereby young people below 24 years old are actually being mainstreamed in the whole agricultural value chain. And we equally have a second program which we actually term the WASA. WASA is Women in Agriculture for Sustainable Africa. How do we make sure that the transformation of the agricultural produce are actually given enough resources and livelihood, improving the livelihood of the rural woman? So that's why CSAYN right now, we are really, really much more focused on those 2 flagship programs. And we have a 3rd program, of course. We know about nature-based solutions, how to look at climate change as an opportunity rather than as a challenge. That's why we have a program we call Rights of Nature to actually address the challenges and the whole climate discourse. And recently we had some colleagues that went to COP26, and of course, one of the key points that came out was cooperation. How do we make sure that we cooperate? And that's why we think that with IICA, we can actually go very, very far in transforming the African continent. And of course, exchanging knowledge from the Latin American continent and equally Africa, try to bridge that gap between the 2 continents. And with this, I want to say we are very, very proud to be part of IICA. We have not come to live, we have come to stay. And I want to say that we are so fortunate indeed because we've been able to get a lot of opportunities. The reason being that with IICA, many institutions have been able to sign a lot of partnership with us. And then just of recent, we got the UN ECOSOC status, meaning that we are liable to give statements at high-level meetings in all the UN headquarters, Geneva, Vienna, and New York. So we think that with IICA collaboration, making sure that rural youth are at the center, the rural women, and why not children as well? I call it at GCSAYN Global, and equally the IICA cooperation has actually yielded a lot of fruit, Rodolfo. Gracias.
Thank you, Divino. It's the same here. We are very proud to be working together with GCSAYN, knowing your reality in your continent and getting this exclusive moment for exchanging ideas and intentions and providing rural development together for our youth, which is very important. Introduction for these activities, and I would like to invite, he's a coordinator in Brazil, and he's representing our director here in Brazil, Gabriel Delgado. So please, Christian, the floor is yours. Thank you, Rodolfo. Thank you, Divine. You can count on us. Federico Villarreal, thank you very much for you guys for your introduction. I'd like to say sorry for our president who is not here, Mr. Delgado, because this event for us is the most important event. Well, I'm going to go together with Divine and I'll say good morning for those who speak English and good afternoon for those who are across the continent. I would like to say welcome to the youth who are here, this youth who is participating in this event. Just to give you some context about the scenario which we are surrounded nowadays, which means a challenge and global efforts. The climate change are the biggest challenge that we are facing. And as the years they pass by, the situation gets more complex. So it gets more difficult for us to deal with that. So the youth role in this biggest challenge is extremely important, since the ideas of the youth groups, they are innovative and they have had very good impacts and tangible results actually across all the process. Beyond that, in this struggle, in this fight, which is so important for humanity, the youth, they took a very important role beyond the consequences that we are having now, either in the mid and long term. As for us here in IICA, we built these spaces for youth, for rural youth, and we share challenges and we share apprenticeships, which are very common in this context complex. So it's very important this way for us to develop a space for a global discussion, which can provide unity between the youth organizations from rural background in the whole world, and also increase the capacity for influence the agro meal environments. So in this space, which was created, and we call them Americas, it's a space for you guys to interact, to express yourselves, exchange ideas, exchange knowledge, and exchange apprenticeship regarding climate change and sustainability, in which we converge these youth in Americas and Africa, which this purpose and solutions will guide us towards intelligent, smart agriculture, inclusive agriculture, and social responsible agriculture in a national and international term. Beyond that, in this space that we created, which are the climate change, the rural youth, and the youth as a. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Christian. It's great to have this convergence with the voices. It's very important to have the voices from the youth in the agriculture and bring the context into the American and African rural context. In the sequence now, we're going to have now your panels, and we have specific speakers from rural areas in America and Africa. And as a coordinator, we'll have Kariana Sumira, which is formed in, is majored in agriculture and human resources, and has been focused in, has been working with youth groups in vulnerability environment and talent development and knowledge management. Before she speaks, she has experience with international projects, and also she's been a teacher in the psychological area. Within IICA, she's a manager for the transversal axis for the youth groups, which is a fundamental and extremely important axis for our projects, as was mentioned by our technical coordinator, and also important for international projects with the cooperation in the programs like trainees and scholarships in IICA. Mariana, please welcome, and the floor is yours. Welcome.
Muchas gracias, Rodolfo. Buenos días, buenas tardes.
Thank you very much, Rodolfo. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We would like to welcome all of you guys to this forum when we can discuss and welcome both the youth, the African and American youths. We are going to discuss three main topics that are going to affect all of us. Those subjects were provided by the youth through a survey that was held. So we are going to start having a dialogue with the subject of the climate change, its impact, and then we are going to talk about the need to capacitate people and systems. Then we are going to start having a second dialogue that is about the systems where the youth are an engine for change. Then we are going to discuss about how to promote development in both the politics and social environments, as well as discussing about having access to production items. I want to tell you that we are going to have all these presentations with those panelists and specialists in those three different subjects that we are going to discuss. Each space is going to count with one person representing America and one representing Africa. 6 minutes to present. And well, given those information, I guess we can get started with the first step. Space in the topic is climate change. Sorry, actually, climate change in rural spaces. So the panelists for this first dialogue are Marina Quintero, that is responsible for the part about structures and climate change in IICA. Then we have a master in environmental law by the University in Cabal, having experience in rural projects in Colombia and also projects of international collaboration. We also have, and I'm sorry if I'm not saying your names correctly, but we have Julian, she's from Nigeria, and she is responsible for the group of women in agriculture for Africa. She's also the coordinator of the African Center for Environmental. She's very passionate about this issue, and she's also works with a group of women and the youth in agriculture. Or actually, any more some comments as a specialist of Asia. She is
Ella es costarricense, es economista de la
change. And she's also a specialist in environmental and management. Well, now having presented all the panelists that we're going to have in this first dialogue, I give the word to Marisa Quintero so she can start her intervention. So starting now, she has 6 minutes. Good morning to all of you guys. It's an honor to be here representing the American rural youth. I am from Colombia, a country that has been facing some civil conflicts for 60 years. And that's why this rural development is so crucial in our country. We have this migration of people from the rural to the urban sides. However, when we start taking a deep dive into the situation in Colombia, we actually realize that
la salud,
human rights and other social politics, even for health, including even food health, we perceive that the rural youth don't see in the farms, they don't see in the country to have any opportunities in the long term. And that's why we have this urban migration that's so strong here. And that's why we have been working on that part specifically here in country, because we see that we have this great vulnerability here. Specifically, when we talk about rural poverty and food health, we notice that those subjects, they have been handled, they have been a hot topic. And it should be a priority to make it sustainable for those rural communities to actually survive there. Development of the United Nations, they do have those goals. We have over 100. 78% of those goals have this scenario focused in the rural sector. So those objectives are basically and precisely focused on the rural development as a form of mitigation of climate changes. However, our generation also has a lot of opportunities that the countries should take advantage of in a strategic way. And I can mention two. The first one is the culture that we have. We are a generation that work through test and error in order to learn. And the second part is the technology that has already evolved with us. So as we grew, the technology developed as well. So the youth are responsible to have new practices and to take new risks. And that can actually work as a bridge for the agriculture and those new technologies. They are prone to work with more sustainable technologies and practices in the agriculture. And well, in my professional experience, I noticed that the international organizations are just starting to realize that work with the youth definitely prioritizes actions like implementation of agricultural practices, for the maintenance of the farm families in our country, specifically with the development of family economy. So we have this transformation in our food processes. So actually, in reality, we need projects where the youth is the transformation agent of the communities. So this bridge between the rural communities and the organization basically about the technical support and sustainable agricultural practices. And as I see, it is urgent that the countries start acting as a guarantee in the transformation of the crops, of the farms, and of the youth, because in the farms is where we have the life of farmers. So the interventions, they have to give them some guarantees. For example, giving them access to land through credits, easy access to education. And I don't mean only the an economical part, but also the geographical part. So this is actually a changing paradigms of the countries. And I see them that as an urgent matter. In a way that is sustainable and can create a network between all the players in the farms. It would actually help them to surpass an obstacle. I'm sorry?
Te queda un minuto.
Claro, perfecto.
You only have 1 minute, okay? Okay, perfect. That would actually it would surpass this obstacle in the farms, especially when we have into account that our countries are essentially farmers. And well, to summarize, we need to take into the perspective of this. The idea here is to attract young people to the farms and to doing actions in a different way. Okay, not only in the production of food, but also in the quality of foods. For example, when we study about forest activities and agriculture and food production, this is something that is interesting to the young people as well as is finding ways to mitigate climate change and also to develop a more robust system for the youth. So very much for your attention, and I am available to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you very much for your intervention. We are later going to have comments from the specialist in the subject. So now we are going to call Juliet. Again, Juliet, you're going to have 6 minutes to talk. I am going to remind you of the time when we are missing 1 minute. Go ahead.
No le escuchamos.
Listen to you.
No te escuchamos.
We are not listening to you. We cannot hear you, actually.
Sorry, Juliet, if you check your mic, Juliet, check your mic.
Aún no te escuchamos. Can you hear me?
Perfect, loud and clear now.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm sorry for that. Okay, greetings everybody from Nigeria. My name is Juliet Ejeze, and I'm actually the hub coordinator for Climate Smart Agriculture Youth Network in West Africa. And I'm also anchoring the Women in Agriculture for Sustainable Africa here in Nigeria. And the topic before us today is all about climate change and rural youth. Climate change is varies from region to region. What that means is that it's the way it happens in America is different from the way it happens in Africa. Some areas suffer from extreme temperate conditions. Some are battling with flood, droughts, and other issues. So for the benefits of this topic, we can see that youths are the main focus. Youths are the main focus because they actually contribute to greater percentage of the working population in the rural areas. You see that in the rural communities here in Africa, it's usually youths that engage in farming activities, both in the crop and livestock sector. So in a Climate Smart Agriculture Youth Network, we saw it to be a need to start building the productive capacity of youths in agriculture, just to develop their skills, to make sure they are doing the right thing the right way. You know, it's one thing to practice agriculture, but it's another thing to do it well in a smart way. So we come up with adaptation practices, mitigation practices in different member countries, member countries network. So we teach them improved practices, how they can apply agricultural practices to combat or actually adapt to climate change. So there are really need sustainability. We have to be very, critical about it. We have to be sure that while meeting our present need, we don't jeopardize the need of the future generation. We have to practice agriculture in a smart way, in a way that does not cause harm to the environment. So in Climate Smart Agriculture Youth Network, we usually teach youths tell them the smart ways they can handle agriculture. They said that climate change challenges shouldn't just be seen as a problem, but sometimes we should also look at it, from the solution, part. We should also look at it as a way to improve our own source of livelihood. So youths contributes to the greater working population of those in the rural areas, especially, and most of the time you see them engaging actively in agriculture. So there are a lot of sustainable practices that they can adopt. One of them is integration of livestock and crop agriculture. We try to show them that they can also leverage in other enterprises, not just in livestock. Youths can try to diversify because most of them think that agriculture might not really give them what they want. That's why you see them going after for white-collar jobs and all of that. But if you look deep inside, you can see that agriculture gives youths proper opportunity when practiced in a smart way. For instance, I'm also a young farmer. I'm a pig farmer. I'm into pig production and also pig rearing. And a lot of things, there are a lot of practices we have been adopting to make us combat climate change. So, like in pig farming, we notice that the pigs do not sweat, but extreme weather conditions can induce both stress, even diseases, and make them not to produce well. So what we discovered is to construct something that will make them to cool off. We try to construct kind of a water-filled depression where these animals can go and chill during hard weather. And we didn't just do it by ourselves. We went along to teach other farmers in our areas to also do the same, just to adapt to climate change. Climate change challenges, it varies. So we try to consider other people, the field of other agriculture, both in livestock and in crop, coming up with good practices they can use to adapt to climate change. Another thing is ecosystem protection. We can see that all over the world, causing harm to the environment. So in Climate Smart Agriculture Youth Network, we also try to inform people on the things they can do, the little things they can do to keep the environment safe for everybody. And some of those things are tree planting activities. In Climate Smart Agriculture Youth Network, we don't joke with tree planting. We inform the youths the beauty of trees. We tell them the importance of having trees around them. And if not just for the youths, we start by going to schools, involving the young ones as well and all of that, so that they can join in, they can understand the importance of the ecosystem and also devise a way to protect it.
Te queda un minuto para el cierre. You only have 1 more minute, okay? Okay, so what I'm saying in summary is that there are better opportunities for youth. There are a lot of opportunities available for our youths to venture in, and there's really need for them to practice climate smart agriculture using good innovations, good sustainable practices, and all of that to boost food production. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Juliet, también por su intervención.
Thank you very much, Juliet, for your intervention. And finally, we give the word to Karen so she can make her context about this technical aspect. Thank you very much, Mariela, and thank you very much to all of you for the opportunity to participate in this panel and to be able to listen to both Marielle and Juliet's interventions. What I believe is very important in the case of Maria Isabel and Juliet, we understand how important is the rurality and the youth actions to mitigate climate change. And also to promote, we understand the importance to guarantee more access to capital for
Información.
we're not only talking about funding here, but we are talking about supporting them with knowledge and information. So it's key to have an effective participation of the youth. In the case of Juliet, she also mentioned how important it is to manage knowledge. And of course, when we talk about the difference between Africa and Latin America, but also when we talk about Asia and other continents, we know that all of us are being impacted by the climate change. However, the impacts may be different. Therefore, the solutions can also be different. So this is an opportunity to exchange knowledge and to, of course, to exchange solutions that those challenges that we currently have and try and mitigate climate change. And that's why we have three things to mention. The first one is to say that this year, in about June or July, we started a survey, and we had the answer of about 10,000 young people in all of the countries, including Brazil, India, Philippines, and others. And 60% of the young people said that they are very worried or extremely worried about climate change and also the ecological destruction. And they are interested in understanding what's being done. And it's interesting to understand that there is this concerning specifically more in developing countries. So it is urgent to have global actions being taken. So listening to the interventions of Juliet and Maria Isabel, we can understand that the actions need to be taken now. Obviously, we have to generate better conditions for work in the rural areas. The second thing is that after listening to Juliet and Maria Isabel, it's important to get to know the profile of the youth. Because the youth, the young people, the players that we are going to have, you said that they have this innovation culture, they are more technology driven. Therefore, there is a higher opening to implement new technologies and to start changes. So the youth also has an heterogeneity. When we talk about capabilities, when we talk about experiences, they have to do with conservation and with generating solutions for the nature. But it's also important to understand the profile of those young people to be able to actually address the challenges that they are facing. And third, it's important to make sure that the young people can actually and effectively work as change players. We need to understand what are the tools and what are the methodologies, and of course, also the opportunities that they have, that they need. For example, one of the things that were mentioned this year,
mencionaron, por ejemplo, tres.
The movement of the young people. For example, we talk about three enabling factors that are very important. The first one is to ensure a stronger participation of the youth. However, this participation and they have to be in a role where they can actually make decisions. Second, is that it's important to strengthen their capabilities, knowledge, tools, logistics, and technical support. And the third of them that Maria Isabel also mentioned is funding. So what types of funding the youth needs, how to fund them, and how to give them entrepreneurship opportunities. So they are the key factors that we have to take, and it's definitely in line with what Juliette and Maria Isabel said. So we definitely need to take that into account when we start thinking about the decisions that we need to make in order to be more effective. And this is how I end my participation. Back to you, Mariela. Thank you very much, Karin. And so this is how we finish our first dialogue. And now we are going to start talking about climate change and rural youth. Now we are going to have a few comments from one of our hosts, and
Thank
then
you, Mariela,
we go back to the forum.
Juliette and Maria Isabel. Thank you all, girls, for your interventions. We're so glad to have this very rich dialogue right in this first panel. We know that the next panels will be very rich as well and very fruitful. And I invite you all who are watching us to continue, keep connected and watch over us, over our 3 channels, and also through our world-class question and answer app, which is linked to this event. We have a QR code on the side of the screen. Go there, say the name of the speaker who wants to question. Let's have the screen here with the QR code so that our participants can go there. And yeah, so here you have, if you don't have access to /IRYF, and go there and send our questions. And send our questions to the recipient you want to answer your question, okay? Please name the recipient. Mariela, please, the word is yours again.
Thank you very much, Rodolfo. Thank you. It's important to let you. Then from Cameroon, we are going to have Juliette Nguyen. Juliette, again, thank you very much. And I'm sorry for if I'm not saying your name correctly. And lastly, we are going to have the participation as a comment of Margarita Astrada. She's make comments about this dialogue. So now we are going to start counting 6 minutes of Josilma. You can go ahead.
Boa tarde.
Good afternoon. My name is Josilma, as they mentioned. I am from Brazil. I live in Pernambuco state. I work here in the Pernambuco arid area, working with the agroforest projects.
Captação e armazenamento de água, o PU+2, e isso tem transformado a vida da minha família, assim como também de outros agricultores aqui do Agreste de Pernambuco. Aqui no Agreste de Pernambuco, temos agricultores que são referência em agrofloresta, que é uma prática sustentável da agricultura, né?
Which is a sustainable area in the agriculture. It's different from the traditional approach. We use different plants and trees across native and also different kind of trees adapted to the semi-arid climate here in Brazil. We don't have a lot of water, but we have been able to manage to have this transformation people, which we are bringing development for the livestock and also the plantations and all the vegetation which has been brought. I'm part of the apprenticeship program from a company which recognized the talents among the youth in the agricultural owners, the livestock owners or the agricultural properties. These, the agricultural managers, they receive an interchange to be working in different states or to receive people from different countries as well. So these agricultural people having this opportunity to have our colleagues from Paraíba, which is a different state in Brazil, which have this differential knowledge. And I like to say that we shouldn't keep the knowledge stuck. We have to pass the knowledge ahead. We have had people here having the technical assistance, but we know that the technical assistance doesn't reach to all the corners of the country. So when we pass the knowledge forward, we can have the knowledge until these people in the rural areas who don't have access to the technical assistance. We have a huge interchange of knowledge among these poles of agriculture in different sides and different parts of the country. And it's a beautiful process in the apprenticeship, having this transformation that we have our territory be growing. As we receive these guests who will be contributing with us and contributing with the agricultural managers, the speaking is a manager, it's better. He can join the knowledge and can share this knowledge ahead as well. So this way, we can learn with each other. We have more process as well. The youth farming groups in the IICA. I've been working with it since 2012. Has started with this collective. We have more than 100 young fellows which are part of this group, focusing on dealing with the climate change, working with the agroforest systems. And because I'll say again, because it has caused a huge impact in our territory. Actually, when we look to our geography, and we see a huge transformation taking place. It's very important what is coming together with this transformation, which is the improvement, so that we can make difference, actually, wherever we are inserted. Also, the agroforest can also improve the feeding, the meals of our part of this food come from the agroforest system. If you don't have the bean, the corn, the food, we have fruits. When we don't have fruits, we have palms. When we don't have palms, we have different variety of fruits and vegetables and so on. So that's what the agroforest brings us, this complex variety. Also, when we deal with seasons, in the winter time, for example, Josilma, you have 1 minute, so please continue. So this way, as I was saying, share this methodology. The way that we are dealing with the agroforest, we wanted to share with different territories and different areas in the world, so that people can learn with us, so that they can have the transformation in their life, in the forest life, actually, which is very beautiful, by the way, which is dedicated to improve our agriculture.
Thank you very much, Josilma, for your participation. So, okay, now we would like to give the void to Juliet. And again, Juliet, you are going to have 6 minutes, and you can go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me on board. I'm Kwe Juliet. I'm Kwe Juliet Ngwangfu. I'm a Cameroonian. I am a year 4 student studying agriculture and environmental engineering. At my year 3 of studies, I actually specialized in agricultural engineering through year 4. And what I really focus more on in the agricultural sector is transformation. So my year of studies, my interest with the youth is to see how from all these agricultural products that we see daily, at times maybe we we really like sustain the environment. We cultivate all the crops, we make them available. But what happens? So when I look into the agricultural sector, my focus was on like when there is that vast number of maize, beans, corn, like granules and all the other things that are being cultivated in the farm. What do you do with them besides consuming them? So I was focusing more on like transforming all the agricultural products into other things that people like consume in the environment. So when I was at my year 4 of study, okay, let me go somewhere that is better. Okay, during my studies, I was studying agricultural engineering. And at my 4 years of study, I had to come out with a project. And this all came about. I conceived this idea because going to school as a student, I do peanut to survive. Like this peanut, I'll just click with us to see it on my screen. This peanut, this video is really not showing. This is what I've been doing. It's actually a combination of flour and granite. So this is what I've been doing. It's a combination of flour and granite. If you can see where many people this snack, it's peanut. It's called peanut burger. It's a combination of flour and granite. So as a student, I've been doing this manually. I've been doing this manually as a student for my 4 years because it has really been helping me. It has put food on my table. It has helped me. And growing up as an agricultural engineer, I saw it that many people, many young girls, many youth want to do this business. As you can see, this is me doing it manually. You have to do it manually. You shake it till the granite completely coats with flour. As we'll be going on, I will show you people on my slides. I'll be showing people on my slides how to really do it manually, what they use to coat to produce this snack. It's actually a snack that is loved by many youths, but you have to do it manually. You have to continuously shake in a bowl. So as an agricultural engineer, I was trying to make sure that this agriculture should not only end in the farm. Like many youths, when they get about agriculture, all they think of is farm work. But I was trying to also make it somehow that let the youth see that this thing is not all about going to the farm. So that's how I was thinking. This snack has been my business. It has been a source of income. So how will I see how to mass produce this particular crunchy snack because many people love it. It's a snack that is appreciated by many. So I finally came out with a design that will facilitate the production of this. I came out with a design that will facilitate the production. I'm sorry that I'm having some problems with my connection, but I will just try to show it, though it's not clear. So this is a machine that I actually designed to facilitate the production of this snack. It's a snack that is loved by many people. So as I was coming up all through my studies, I was trying to see how I would facilitate it because many people really love producing it, but it is very stressful. Doing it manually is very stressful. You have to continuously shake granite till it coats completely. So I was thinking when I finally thought where I saw it that this machine could be necessary and will really help because you are processing all our agricultural product. That's flour and granite. And you just need some ingredients like milk, like sugar to make it coat like this and produce a very nice crunchy snack. So this one, you see that even after this machine, after I realized this machine, many youths are coming to me. They were like, because when I got into the agricultural sector, everybody was like, Juliet, you want to go and do agriculture with all the mathematics and physics, you are going to the farm. I said, agriculture is not all about going to the farm. Agriculture is the basis of life and everything. I said, engineering is bringing solutions to the problems you see around. So I saw it that this was a necessity. I saw it that it doesn't end at producing all the agricultural products. We cannot produce and keep piling it. We have to transform them. We have to transform and we have to preserve. And even during the process of transforming, like for this snack, it's actually a snack that when you do it, you sell and have money. But you doing it manually is very, very, very tedious.
Juliet, nos queda un minuto.
Juliet, you only have 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let me just round up. So with this machine, work that you can do for 1 hour, this machine can 10 minutes approximately if all conditions are okay. It can do it for 10 minutes. So with this machine, I've already seen that many youths are really like interested because they have seen it that agriculture is not all about going to the farm. It's not all about preserving all this stuff, but also it has to do with transforming it. So as we try daily to make sure that the climate is okay for us to grow these crops, we also have to think on how to like process them to other things. Thank you very much, madam.
Gracias, Juliet, también por su intervención.
Thank you very much, Juliet, for your
Para que podamos
and for everything that you have shown to us, so we can know a little bit more of what you did, of what you have been doing. So thank you very much. So Margarita Astralaga, she is the final panelist that's going to make comments about this dialogue. So Margarita, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mariela. I'm going to speak in English just because I like very much the last sentence that Juliet mentioned. It's not just about going to the farm. I think that captures what youth are asking worldwide. We hear this in Africa, we hear this in Latin America. Latin America in particular has a big challenge with the rural, was mentioned in the previous panel, don't want to stay in the rural areas. So Latin America, as we all know, is a very urbanized region, and we only have about 20% of the rural youth in the rural areas. But this process, what is happening in Latin America, it's also happening in Africa. To start this discussion, because because it links very well with what Josilma was also mentioning about innovation, about new practices. Also was mentioned in the previous panel, no? The importance and the ability of the youth to take risks and to come up with different ways of doing business. So what Juliet showed was a lot of resourcefulness to be able to support herself. But the final product is a machine that will help transform this bin, which is extremely valuable, I think, for all of us and for all the youngsters around the world, to see that you can do it, you can design your own machines to be more effective. But when we talk, and the theme of this panel is about reinventing food systems. And what Josilma mentioned is key in this reinventing food systems, how we can really use practices as agroforestry, as agroecology to do business differently. We talked about before about ensuring that we also practice climate smart practices. But when we talk about food systems, we are talking about the first step of production, but also processing and consumption. So youth have an opportunity to work in these three areas and probably to make it more attractive for the youth to stay working in agriculture. Obviously, I think as it was said in the first panel, we need the policies that will support the youth to really have financial support, but also education. In the institution I was working for before in IFAD, we did an analysis of what the youth of Latin America needed to work in the rural areas. And it came very clearly that education is one of the key challenges. The level of education, so agriculture engineer is very important, but then what is next? I think Juliet started doing this because she saw an opportunity. But youth should have this support for innovation. How can we ensure that they have access to that education and can have access to the fund needed for that innovation? So these national policies, of course, are very important. also something important that we have seen a lot see it so much in Latin America is the ministries of youth affairs, because this requires a lot of attention and a lot of support. So all this work, I think it is really very, I was really very inspired, Josilma, with this idea of exchanging with other farmers, because also, again, what I have learned in all these years, I'm very young at heart, but not as young as all of you. But what I have learned in all these years is that we all are more ready to learn from our peers than from somebody that comes from the capital city, one of those know-it-all, telling us what to do. So the idea of promoting these exchanges between the different territories, I think, is fantastic. And maybe it's also an idea here for the group and for IICA, for GCSAYN. How can we expand the exchange in Latin America? And how can we expand the exchange also for Africa? Because I think we have a lot to learn from each other. The challenges are similar. Maybe the situations are different from region to region, but there is a lot to learn about each other. So I think this event is a great opportunity for, as a first step, and I really are a part of the board of GCSAYN. I'm really pleased with this agreement with the IICA that will really promote and the African farmers and young producers that have these exciting ideas. So over to you, Mariela. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Margarita.
Thank you very much.
Le agradecemos a Josilma.
And well, again, thank you to Josilma and Juliet for the participation in the second dialogue and for making these contributions and comments for the youth at the global level. So now let's move on to the final youth development. He works for knowledge management in the Agresp in Pernambuco. Then we are going to have Cris Signora from we'll give the word back to Clesio. Go ahead.
Boa tarde a todos e a todas.
From a cultural manager. I am a logistical manager as well in the TAP, which is a apprenticeship territorial project. Talk about how to improve the good information and improve our resilience. First step is the information. The farmer needs to have the information and the knowledge. Work groups, associativism. It's also a good pillar of this sustainability of the youth in the rural areas. Sustainable environment also is very important to rescue those seeds from our old farming style, which is a very organic approach as well, so that we can rescue it and we can protect it, having a good production in agroecological, which is healthy as well. And for the youth to have access to all this information that I just mentioned, to have that, we need to have access to the public policies. Public policies is what makes difference in the youth who live in the rural areas. That's what makes a difference. Technology combined with associativism and technical assistance and knowledge, which is fundamental. Partnerships as well. Here we have a partnership with Centro Sabiá, and Centro Sabiá gave me access to knowledge, access to some practices, my activities in a better manner, also interchanging of information. It's fundamental, actually. And partnerships. These entities, these organizations, they need partnerships support from different institutions as well, so that these projects can be carried out. They can have life, so that they can be realized and get out of the paper and get into real life. That's the main role as well. The youth who lives in the rural areas, in order for him to stay there in the rural area, he needs to have an assistance and support and to have a correct working style, preserving the environment, cultivate the cultures, and that he can have food for himself, firstly. This is essential, that he has the knowledge to cultivate seeds for his family, fruits for his family, and also for his livestock and as well. It's part of his having technology as well is very important. It comes from the public policies like solar energy, water, forests, ecological forces, and so on. It gives the youth more inspiration, more motivation. So he doesn't want to leave his area looking for a job, because he can live out of the life that he has in the rural area. And he can even become a teacher. I consider them a teacher, a professor, someone who will teach others around him, those who want to learn, and also those coming from the urban areas and who want to learn about a sustainable life in the countryside of the country without being irresponsible with the environment. This way, we will be able to keep the environment, keep a sustainable soil, improve the climate, stop the climate change. We all expect that to reduce temperature of the planet. We want to reduce the adverse points against our livestock, against our plants. But in order to have that, we need to have public policies in the automation, in the technology, in the support of the youth. The youth need to have space. The young leaders in the rural areas, they need to have space for their voice. He needs to have his voice. He needs to take his action. He needs to have space for sharing his knowledge. He needs to have opportunity to be a leader in his community, be someone who defends and protects the area. Because I have to confess, this is the first time I participate in an event. It's a huge event like that with so many important people. And I may lack some information because there are so many information I may be, and I like to being forget some information, but I like to mention that this is important, the internet, social media. I have to say that I am in front of a computer in a rural area, which is very far from the city. And I am talking with people from different parts of the world. And it's very important. It makes difference. The young leaders, they need to have access to internet and technology and social media. So this way they can reach out for a knowledge. They can learn how they can have sustainable farm. I am someone who likes to create, to invent, to engineer things. I developed a machine, for example, of unblocking the chicken, for example. I also am developing now a machine for grinding the manioc. I just used wood and iron metals, which were thrown up there in the jungle, and I got it to be used here and produce machines. And I want to produce many more machines. Like I want to design, and I want to engineer now a machine that I can have beverages straight from my machine, which very pure quality. So I am about to finish actually this machine, and I was only able to do that because I had access to internet. So through the internet, I learned how to create and how to build this machinery. So I think that we should focus more on that the young farmers, they can create and innovate and build machines in order to preserve the environment and make his daily life easier. when we deal with the environment, we change our site. And I think this is essential. It's crucial that the young farmers, they may be supported by the public areas, so that we become a young, sustainable community and survive in the rural area. Thank you very much for your opportunity to participate in this event. Sorry for the words. I'm a bit nervous, actually. But yeah, thank you very much. I'd like to say that I'm available for more lectures and more opportunities to be learning from you and exchange information, which I think is crucial for the young farmer in the rural area. Thank you very much.
Bless you. You actually did great. Now we are going to give the floor to our second. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mariela, and everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm actually calling in from Malawi. So just like I've already been introduced, my name is Chris. So I am part of the larger global network where we're talking about climate smart agriculture youth network. And I'm so excited to be part of this dynamic conversation where we want to look at how climate change is actually impacting us. It's also good that we are hearing much from our colleagues from the LAC region. I hope next time we will also have others from Asia, just to make sure that we are able to share. I don't have much to say. We're on a build on to what others have said. We heard from Juliet and another Juliet from different geographies. We thank you all, guys. What I just want to say is I will just narrow what has already been discussed. Only that I would, the context in terms of climate change is not that good at all. We are talking of consistent disasters, flooding, and many other issues that are actually affecting people's livelihood. Has a lot of negative influence in terms of most of the agricultural activities. Where we have droughts and flooding, it's very difficult for crops to do well. So as much as we might be talking about raising economic status of people, we are already complaining about food insecurity, which is also exacerbated by climate change. And where we're talking about food insecurity, we have a lot of our rights, other rights infringed as well. Where we are talking about food and nutrition insecurity, we are talking about malnutrition and others. So similarly, when it comes to the youth, there are already other people that have talked about challenges to do with land access, for example, issues to do with finance, issues to do with value chain, issues to do with value addition, so that whatever they are to produce should compete effectively on a global market. But this is not actually happening. So looking at the policies, I'm looking at this in two dimensions. There are other policies that we can actually be able to deal with at country level or at a regional level. But we have other issues that we may not be able to handle. For example, where we are talking about pollution, you may agree or disagree, but much of the pollution which is affecting the world is not actually produced in Africa or these other parts of the world like Asia. So these are some of the issues that we may also need to make sure that we come together and lobby for policies that can actually reduce that. But getting back to Africa, like in the case of Malawi, we have policies that would actually favor politicians. And this is what we would want to, as much as possible, to deal with. For example, where we are talking about issue to do with finances, you'd find that the politician would actually say, okay, there is a funding, but this funding will actually be channeled through a certain political party. And this is already a compromise, because whoever gets that are not these people that we are talking about, people that are already in groups. So whatever they get, it may not necessarily get into farming or other productive initiatives. So these are the issues that we might be able to handle. We are also talking about issues to do with value chains, issues to do with value addition. For example, you would have a certain local farmer, a youthful farmer who would be able to get into beekeeping, for example. He may spend a lot of months and a certain period, but when it comes to them to compete favorably so that they can get access to markets, bargaining power is an issue. We need governments to come in and actually provide such policies so that issues would actually be of benefit to these rural farmers. Value addition is critical in terms of making sure that whatever is produced has a chance to compete favorably. Apart from that, we are also talking about diversification. We are talking about mechanization and other issues. We saw a very good example from Kwe Juliet, where she talked about innovation and how innovation can actually maximize issues in terms of production. So this is also a challenge, because much of what is actually being yielded, our production is based on hands and all that. So indeed, issues to do with our policies are critical to making sure that our production is meaningful. And because the youths are frustrated, what happens in the end? You will see that the picture that is portrayed is that much of these youths detest agriculture, but such is not the scenario. So indeed, where we are talking about policies, they play a critical role in making sure that it comes in between these youths and our government and other agencies that are there to make sure that we are able to participate meaningfully and participate well as youths. So this is what I have to say. But what has excited me so much today, just like my colleague, my friend, Clesio from the other region, is that this chance to make sure that we are able to bring these voices from different parts of the world, from a corner like Malawi, where issues may not be good at all. We are able to raise these voices through platforms like these ones. And this is also creating another chance or opportunity for learning, so that we can also understand what's happening from the other geography. Mr. Divine, Juliet, thank you so much for providing or affording this opportunity to us here. And this has to be extended far and wide to others who have been behind this whole process. We thank you so much. Over and out. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Chris, por su...
Thank you very much, Chris, for your participation and for your comments. And well, finally, for the comments of this third forum, we are going to have the participation of Ms. Fabiana Viterbo. You have the floor.
Fabiana, no te escuchamos.
Sorry, Fabiana, we cannot hear you.
Sure, you didn't listen to me, obviously, because I was muted, as usual. Thank you all, and I'd like to thank IICA for the organization of this event. Hello to you all. As we have this event for our main group, as the youth group, it's a great pleasure for us to have this event, like having the youth as the voice of the event. It's a huge pleasure and a huge, and I like to say that as a comment, this third panel, I am, I like to talk about all the people who speak here. you guys, young leaders, young farmers, you brought your good practices, you share your knowledge here, things that you are doing in the place that you are inserted. We talked a lot about the public policies as well. Chris mentioned that. The empowerment of the youth groups, not only to have the vision of the local play in the local places, but also getting us the attention on, it's very important to strengthen their voice, create this knowledge and is concerned about the role of the public agents, which need to be dealing with the challenge that they have in their regions. So yes, we need to push the public managers, the public agents, and it's very nice and so thankful to be listening to all your demands. Class, you don't have to ask sorry and to say sorry for anything. It's great to hear your voice, to hear that you are concerned about the knowledge that you need to get. And yes, you guys have a lot to share. And class, you mentioned together with the Josilma, and you are part of the apprenticeship territory, which is one of the activities developed by the Semear International together with the POCASUL. It comes out to demonstrate that the power of this and the role of this project, that the way that within the rural youth and all to strengthen the technical capacity of the youth groups. So herein we had a good demonstration from Clécio and Josilma and showing what's our role and showing how this project and this program values the interchange of knowledge and the valuation of knowledge as well. As Clécio mentioned, that the exchange of knowledge is fundamental, is extremely important for us to have the knowledge to be developed in the communities, in the local communities, or even the knowledge that are out there that can make a difference in these communities. They need to circulate, they need to be transmitted, broadcast. Clécio mentioned about the machine that he has developed through the information that he has been able to collect over the internet and how daily work and how it will be a potential power for what he's doing on his daily life and also for his community. Also what Josilma has developed there, how these things are important and they can bring information for the youth and communities in different places. And that's the objective of our apprenticeship territory program, that we go beyond the learning and sharing the knowledge with other people, that we may get the innovation and making this business possible. It's a different way to make income, actually. In some places, for example, it hasn't been taught that the knowledge can be transformed into income and providing helping for them. That's what the program intention. And through the Josilma's and Clécio's lecture, we learned and we can understand that we have new perspective on the rural areas. As Margarita mentioned, and I want to reinforce, the importance of partnerships, which come in order to promote new business and developments in the countryside, providing every day more and more information across these different areas and across youth groups as well, no matter the region where they are, as we are doing now with different countries in the same event, so that we can change the reality in the countryside. I also want to call your attention for the impacts of the climate change. We have the better livelihood in the countryside, and the management of knowledge is getting more and more important on a daily basis. We have noticed that. And even for the target that we have already had, for example, the COVID impacts in the rural youth groups and the guarantee of the food and the meal in the Brazilian youth group. You have
only have 1 more minute, Fabiana.
And also the guarantee of the job that the women have been doing in their areas. We have had 2 studies already being developed regarding the COVID impacts on the the women's role in the rural area and also the food security. And I want to highlight here that we need to continue having this space as a fundamental space for dialogue network for the projects and developments of the youth groups between Africa and Brazil and different countries. I hope we have a continuity of this knowledge exchange, that we can operate as partners so that we can progressively have more and more and more this youth voice being out there, contributing for this you all for
Very much, Mariela. And actually, thank you to all of you guys who have participated in this valuable and rich dialogue, where we could see the different experiences from the youth.
De generar espacios.
And we could understand the importance of generating spaces and also exchanges for the youth. We also talked about the importance of fighting for digital inclusion in the farms, as well as access to internet. So again, thank you very much for your participation, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to learn so much from all of you guys. So now I am going to give the word back to Edwin Prado.
I like also to thank all these moderators and all people involved in this. There is no value in the knowledge if we don't use it. And the word that we heard in this event today is that information, knowledge, action, transformation, and they were all present, these words, in all these lectures that we had today. And maybe these are the words that represent the rural youth. To summarize what we saw in these three sections, in the climate change in the rural areas, we heard about the capacitation of the youth leaders, the youth farmers, looking for good practices in order to improve the sustainability and protection of the ecosystem. These solutions, they were presented by the young farmers and the young leaders from the African continent and also the American continent. In the second section, we had the youth as a change, also transform the agriculture through capacitation, through training. Also the promoting the youth being transformed through the public policies, as mentioned by Chris. And also the importance of the youth leaders as a promotion of innovation, being the innovation promoters, mentioned by Julia and as well. So we had a very rich exchanging moment. And I'd like to invite some young people who are here so that they can make their question and also raise their doubts and raise their hands and ask us individual questions. And also I want to make some questions later. So let me see if we have questions here, and then we can kindly ask and respond and reply all of them. First question, what's the meaning of being a youth leader in great urban areas and also great rural areas? What's the difference? What's the implication of that? What's the meaning of being a young in great urban centers and in the rural field? What are the differences? Let's go for those who have mentioned the recipient so that I can motivate you all to answer. Mariela is asking, should we consider the youth groups? So the question is, should we consider the term
use the term
youth or plural
youths?
Rural youth.
Okay, so that actually should
I think
be an affirmation, not a question. This is an important affirmation. It is important and key to have the support of young people in the rural scenario. They can help us understand how to do better, how to develop in a more sustainable way. So I guess that's the question. That's the answer for your question.
Maria Isabel.
Question now for Maria Isabel. What are the conditions that could take the experience of being youth man or women to be a rural man or rural women?
Sorry, could you please repeat the question? I didn't quite understand.
What are the conditions with near down the distance between the experience between a rural men and women to rural men and women? Let me repeat.
As experiências de ser jovem rural, jovem e mulher rural, e de ser jovem rural y hombre.
Bueno, sí, es una muy buena pregunta. De hecho,
it's actually a great question. In the farms, according to my experience, we can actually see a gap, a social gap that's very important between the access to farm women, of course. And this is actually one of the differences that we can see there. So, for example, an independent rural woman to develop and have access to family credits, it's actually definitely harder for them. So according to my experience, I have never seen equality between the genders. We can definitely see that even in the farms, we have a smaller female participation when compared to men. And when we talk about this development of women, I consider that women from a long time ago has been developing in agriculture, even in a development of the health, for example. When we talk about development of agricultural practices that are traditional, we can see that women are able to develop there. However, because they don't always have the same access to land or to technical support, you can see that it could actually make it harder for women to participate.
Josilman, we still have a big resistance towards the SAF's adherence. How can we break this resistance? Well, I think that through the interchanging, we should show the importance of that and what are the impacts that we have nowadays, so that the farmers, they can see it and they can understand that it has been a change in the agricultural life. The farmers that we have nowadays in the agroforest, they have known about that through the experience that we had, and because they saw that the farmers, they had this process getting right, so they decided to carry out the same process and process. Another question for Margarita. What's being developed in order to troops in the rural areas?
Para ver la pregunta, perdona. Nuevamente, gracias.
Which has been developed in order to keep the young farmers in the rural properties? I think it's a very similar question to this one. How can we instigate the young rural people out of going out of exiting the rural area? Can I answer? Please. In order to avoid the exodus, the public policies have been written in order for that. Give us a practical life and providing the sustainability for these youth to be in the field. The young people, they leave the rural area because they don't have an income. So they have to leave it in order to reach out for an income. So taking advantage of the public policy that we have and the programs that we have, we can show off that we can get income out of that. And through this income generation, we can remain there in the field. Thank you, Josildo. Is there anyone else who would like to mention and comment on this question?
Edwin, vamos fazer o seguinte, vamos passar as perguntas diretamente aos nossos expositores
e comentaristas. To all our speakers through email.
Evento muito rico.
Because we are reaching the end of the event, I would really like to answer all these questions, but we can't do that because of our time. But we can send all the questions to the speaker's email, and it will be forwarded to all you guys. So let's continue now with the event, and thank you all who have participated and watching us over our channels. I'd like to ask some young people who are here to talk about the project that they are developing. A representation of Rural Jovem is here, Vander. Vander, can you tell us more about the organization and the actions that you guys have been developed? Good afternoon, Edwin. Thank you very much. Thank you, IICA, for inviting us. It's a great satisfaction and great pleasure to be participating in this event. Clécio mentioned that it's the first time for him to be in an event like that, and it's also my first time here, Clécio, and I identify myself with your feeling, Clécio. It's a great honor to be here with all you guys. I am here representing the leadership of the Brazilian Rural Society, and recently as the part also of the Mercosul Association for Development. Particularly, we have been working here with an academic league that is difficult to organize and difficult to promote, and we have a very huge diversity. The livestock and agriculture here in Brazil is very heavy, and the work groups, they are there, but we have had the difficulty of connecting these groups here around the country. We had all these groups working isolate, so we thought, well, these groups, they can work and walk together and can talk to each other so that we can have an apprenticeship through activities in a multidisciplinary. So we created, very recent in September in São Paulo, in our branch in the Brazilian Agricultural Society, we created and we developed our target for April 2022 to get together with 50 organizations and institutions which are already part of the academic and group from 6 states in Brazil. So for those who are in other countries, we have some provinces as well. We have 6 different entities being part of that. The idea is to cross over all Brazil, especially the northeastern areas, so that we can connect and know the different forms of rural productions across the country, so that we can keep the realization of events like 2 or 3 very big events with all this group from all the sides of the country, having the main objective as to have the integration of these leaders in the agro-livestock communities since the early stage, no matter the institutions that they are part of. It's always from a perspective of the academic world. Those students who are getting to the idea is to have in 10 or 15 years that those leaders who are the leaders of these big institutions would be familiar and would be friends from a long date with people across the country in order to develop the sector and the economic development linked to the sustainable development.
Vida profissional, eles já
Allowing
têm
these young leaders, the young farmers in their professional life to have a contact with the private initiative outside of the university wall. So this is the main project today from our youth directory from a Brazilian rural society. We have had a lot of people joining. We are very excited about the result that we're going to have out of this in 2022. We are working hard to expand it to all the states of Brazil. And from our point of view on farming, we're talking about Mercosul, and the idea is to create a project that can integrate and establish in a very concrete way a dialogue between the institutions represented with this sector which are in the bloc. Even the countries which are not part of the Mercosul as well. And the biggest challenge today is the dialogue, getting together to talk and discuss projects and institutional perspective and give voice for these people who are involved and devising the voice. And this is what we've been working hard lately. And that's it. I think that I have already talked too much because my time is limited. And thank you. Thank you very much for listening, listening me. Yes, we also have Juan Francisco, who is a treasure here from the Argentina Society. Juan, please tell us more about the actions, what you have developed there for developing youth rural actions in Argentina.
Hello, good morning to all of you guys. I would like to thank you all for your time. My name is Juan Granza. I am a part of the Agricultural Society in Argentina. The Commission Board is already set up. We also have a secretary and a treasury. So we are very well organized. We also have the promotion of events to raise awareness and also to teach the youth in the farms. We also have another promotion to try and strengthen the agricultural and also the elaboration of policies, the farms. We also have courses and trainings to inform about the special social policies that we have in the farms, in the country. We also have all the different entities that we have in the country. And also we work in conjunction with other entities, just like this one we have been working right now. And we also syndicates and unions to strengthen culture in Argentina and to foment exports abroad. We would like to move on forming those agents and to increase the influence of the youth farm, especially in the politics. Well, I would like to be to let you know that we are all at your disposal in case anyone wants to contact us. We are available on all different means and social platforms. And well, I appreciate all the attention, and I would like to once again
thank you very much, Juan.
Thank you for
and also have Lucas here representing the CNA Jovem from JCI. Lucas, please tell us a bit about the actions that you guys have carried out. Thank you, Edwin, for the invitation. I'd like to firstly thank you for these interactions between our young groups. I am an engineer, agricultural engineer, talk from Paraná, Brazil. Let's talk about the system that diversify the agricultural innovations. The farmers, they have many activities now, and together with the cooperative, they get the technical assistance and also keep continuing innovating. And this business here in the region, they work based on the cooperativism. I work as a rural manager. I deal with the financial area. We noticed that the farmers, they came long years ago in Brazil, and they focused a lot on production in the technical area, but the administrative part, the financial area was left aside. In the last 10 or 15 years, Margarida mentioned a bit about that. We're not motivated that. We were motivated to get on a tractor, but we ended up not staying here because it was so boring and technical wouldn't be so interesting for us. So we got to a point that we noticed that without the management, with this variable cost, depending a lot on the market, depending a lot on the weather, no matter the Brazilian political solutions that we had, we can't be dependent on that. We need to have a good management inside our farms. And so last year, I started participating in the CNA, and which is a group that provides interaction between youth leaders from all over Brazil dealing with the rural demands. I noticed that monitoring costs, monitoring financial areas, loans, demands, orders, this management of information was not carried out in a very proper manner in any part of the country. And even though in my state here, we are quite well developed here, information management. So my question is, how can we solve this problem? Because don't have a financial education at schools, for example. We are not very interested in that. In the rural area, it's the same. So how should we deal with that? Well, in the youth CNA, we developed and we had an initiative through some research that would be a podcast. And this podcast is called Agro Jovem. What do we do that? Well, this podcast is about a discussion like this one we're having here. We get these rural farmers over to share the experience which are successful. Because sometimes a young farmer from the south of Brazil is having a very successful experience and initiative, and there's someone in the north of the country who have had the same problem that he had, and he needs the help. So the good way, the best way to share is about examples. So we are showing off examples of good practice and also bad practices. So within this podcast, we have very casual talks, not very formal. Because if we have a formal talk, a formal podcast, we are going to push them out again. No, we want them in. So we have casual and nice language in order to attract these young farmers. We get young West Center, and we build this interaction with them. And we have had a very good movement with that. But it's not only that. It's not only about getting the knowledge. It's about putting the knowledge in practice. So how do we put in practice the succession in the farm field? Because that's what's happening. It's about family succession. It's about the dad teaching his son or daughter about farming. So the first step is that showing and teaching these young future farmers that farm is a business. We manage it according to a business plan. He needs to know about the risks and about the management situation that he will face. So we need to also improve communication. And then JCI gets and plays its role. JCI, the junior camera, as we say, it's present in all the world. Focus on education, giving oratory courses. JCI is over more than 100 countries. You have 1 minute We have practical trainings. We have many courses and debates, and we put it in practice through social projects. So firstly, we created the interaction, having lots of youth groups, providing them communication with the communities. Second, we activate them. We identify the problem, we create interaction among them so that they are interested in the rural property as a company, as a business. At the same time, we try to improve the communication for all these young leaders so that they can take initiatives and leading to positive impacts. With all this ecosystem, along the years, we will have a progress and evolution. And I am here to learn more with you guys, share it and provide knowledge forward. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lucas. Thank you very much. Thank you, Edwin. I think it's in the public policies as well. We say here in Brazil that we don't have a good, there's no good results if we don't have the possibility to scale this good idea without having good public policies in place. So thank you all for sharing the knowledge and sharing the entities that are interested in defending the youth interests. This is super important and super relevant, especially now in the current conjuncture that we have now in the farming, especially in Brazil. So I'd like to thank you all greatly. Thank you all for the moderation of Mariela and all people here involved, Karen, Montiel, our specialists, Maria Isabel, Josilma, Clécio, Divine, our counterpart in GCSAYN, all the participants who were invited and the speakers who have been to have you here with us. And I'm so satisfied with the result of this event. In order to wrap up with a golden key, I'd like to call Beverly Best, our international coordinator, in order to have the final words and closing up this event. And also, thank you very much for you being here with us, Beverly. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge.
Thank you, Rodolfo, and thanks to all our panelists and our distinguished young people who have really made today's event a great success. Thanks to my IICA colleagues, and thanks to all the persons who have been doing a tremendous job in ensuring that we have a very successful summit today. I just want to say a few remarks as we close. As we consider the backdrop of the pre-summit, the UN Food System Summit, the COP26 Summit, today's International Rural Youth Forum, hosted by CSAYN Global IICA, is another great opportunity for young people to come together to shape an agri-food systems agenda that will realize the vision of an inclusive, equitable, and healthy future that also respects our planetary boundaries. Today's International Rural Youth Forum is the launch of intercontinental conferences and dialogues between Africa and the Americas, which also signals a defining moment of a journey which has gained momentum from the various joint initiatives undertaken between CSAYN and IICA since we first signed our agreement on March 24, 2021. Based on the many insightful and passionate contributions provided by our various speakers and our panelists today, it is evident that this forum of rural youth has brought together a wide cross-section of young people from across Africa and the Americas who have a strong determination to create the change that is needed for transforming our agri-food system through climate-smart agriculture. As in several events across the globe, now more than ever, we have all witnessed an increasing momentum of young people involved in food systems and climate change. However, this momentum must be kept alive until and beyond the achievement of the SDGs in 2030, particularly those related to climate change and food systems.
for them to be achieved. Being cognizant that there is a sense of urgency for mechanisms and platforms for young people to come together and contribute to the SDGs, there is the notion our young people, that they are the majority, as more than half of the world, or half of the people in the world, sorry, are under the age of 30. Therefore, the voices of youth must be heard. In this regard, I am particularly pleased that as we approach the end of 2021, we can say that the joint hosting of this forum is testimony of both parties taking a bold and innovative step. For me, this forum has showcased in a very powerful way that our youth in Africa and the Americas are not the leaders of tomorrow, nor of the future, but are leaders today in shaping the global agenda. IICA's understanding of building relationships with organizations and groups, such as GCSAYN, is deemed strategic, given the opportunity to advance the core components of the culture and economies of the African continent and the Western Hemisphere, especially Latin America and the Caribbean region. We are obliged to attract, engage, and retain our young people through climate smart and digital agriculture if we are to realistically transform the agricultural sector towards resilience and sustainability in keeping with the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. Indeed, we recognize that to address the challenges of and the opportunities for our rural youth require collective action, as the public sector, businesses, private sector, civil society, philanthropy, and other partners, many other partners. So before closing, I will wish to reiterate that today's forum is just the start of joint efforts that acknowledge the invaluable contribution of our youth, as well as a commitment to continue to move forward in strengthening collaboration that will support the urgent objective of empowerment and inclusion of our rural youth across continents to deliver an agri-food system and climate-smart agriculture for all. As we move to put into forceful action the imperatives of meaningfully involving our youth, let us not forget they have a voice. They have the power and they have the numbers to ensure efficiency, effectiveness, resilience, and sustainability in the transformation agenda for climate change and food system across Africa and the Americas. Therefore, while we at IICA believe there is no limit, no time to wait, we will take action, keeping in mind a saying which has its origin in Central Europe, and I quote, "Nothing about us without us." That is, nothing about youth without you. I thank you very much.
Muito obrigado, Beverly. Então, com essas palavras finais, encerramos aqui o primeiro.
Thank you very much, Beverly. And with these final remarks, we close up this brilliant event from the youth rural groups. This event was made by the young farmers, to young farmers, for young farmers. Thank you all who have been enjoying these moments here in these three languages. Let's keep in high expectations for the next years to come. Thank you all for participating. Thank you all for participating.